Let's get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time. And take a listen to this answer.
Say, hey, when there's a problem, you call a man. The Democrats can't even tell you what a man is.
So when you hear Walz brag about how much of a man he is, what does that tell you?
I think there might be a little bit of a cope there, you could say. There's a little bit, he has to remind us how masculine he is, trying to not even be able to load a shotgun or fix a truck.
Tim Walz believed he could glide by on gentle speeches and photo ops, but Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk came in swinging with political wrecking balls. In a harsh takedown, they revealed every flaw in his leadership, from struggling schools and growing crime to ineffective policies disguised as progress. This wasn't just criticism, it was a full-on dismantling. They pulled back the curtain to expose a governor more focused on media attention than meaningful outcomes. The act is finished, and the truth just took center stage.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools.
I'll tell you one thing. The most masculine thing that someone can do in America today is stand up for women that are not able to stand up for themselves.
Right.
So while Tim Walz is going on Gavin Newsom's podcast, attacking me, by the way, saying that I'm a bad guy, well, I'm sorry, Governor Walz. One thing that we don't have in common is, unlike you in Minnesota, I, every single day, am actually fighting for female privacy in locker rooms and that women's sports will not have men in them. Real men stand up for women when they're not able to stand up.
Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk don't wait for approval, and they don't check if the coast is clear. When they spot nonsense being passed off as leadership, they don't stay quiet or handle it in private. They call it out, loud and clear, with cameras rolling and facts flying. When it came to Governor Tim Walz, they brought enough firepower to burn his whole narrative to the ground. Not out of spite, but because failure that obvious practically demands a spotlight.
And the idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog.
This is a sacred trust. In the spring of 2005, Walz walked away from that sacred trust, abandoning his post when he learned of an upcoming Iraq deployment. This is Senecal Pubula saying this. He is a coward. According to this Twitter feed, he is a quitter. And every veteran I've talked to thinks that Walz is close to betraying the country by doing it.
He wore the everyman label like a disguise, posing as a folksy governor who understood the struggles of the average Minnesotan. But Megyn has spent years exposing phonies and scripted stories, and she knew exactly what she was seeing. Walz's performance didn't radiate authenticity. It reeked of focus group, tested spin wrapped in recycled sincerity.
What Walz did is the moral equivalent of a mother dropping off her 5 preteen children at an orphanage in the dead of night so that she could run for Congress. Yes, it is that bad. This was more than just abandoning troops. It also reflects a major personal deficit in his character and makeup. By the way, this is written by a veteran.
She started stripping away the polished surface by revealing the disconnect between Walz's public image and his actual performance. This was a man who ran on promises of unity and transparency, but led with confusion and hesitation. Megyn honed in on how Walz constantly deflected responsibility, like a kid who spills milk and blames the cup for mutiny. His whole leadership style could be boiled down to 3 steps. Announce a vague initiative, dodge accountability, and hold a press conference that dodges every real question. Charlie Kirk, meanwhile, went straight for the economic weak spot. He torched Walz's financial policies like they were written on kindling. Charlie ridiculed the governor's knack for driving businesses out of Minnesota faster than a snowstorm clears the roads. Taxes were rising, regulations were out of control, and economic growth was stuck like a swamp in midsummer. Charlie highlighted how Walz seemed to think prosperity meant expanding government payrolls while penalizing the private sector for turning a profit. Then the two began connecting the dots on a broader scale. Megyn dissected the state's pandemic response, pointing out how Walz behaved like a part-time health expert running a full-time fear campaign. Lockdowns hit hard, but selectively, based on political optics. Small businesses were shuttered, while big-box stores coasted without restrictions. Schools stayed closed, but bars got special exemptions. This wasn't science, she argued, it was politics in a lab coat.